The eagle is the only bird that flies into a storm. While others run for shelter, the eagle spreads its wings and rises above the clouds. My question to you today is, are you soaring or are you settling? There is a reason why God compares his children to eagles. Not chickens, not pigeons, not parrots, but eagles. Because eagles are rare. Eagles are strong. And most of all, eagles are alone. Powerful people are not surrounded by the crowd. Powerful people don't follow noise, they follow vision. Powerful people are like eagles. They always fly alone. Could it be that the loneliness you feel is not punishment, but preparation? Let me tell you something that might disturb your comfort but unlock your calling. Separation always comes before elevation. You cannot rise with the crowd. You cannot ascend while clinging to what God told you to leave. Every time God wants to use someone, the first thing he does is call them out. Before he speaks to your destiny, he disrupts your environment. Because purpose cannot be discovered in the noise of familiarity. It is only revealed in the silence of separation. Look at Abraham. God didn't bless him while he was with his father's household. No, the command was clear. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Genesis 12:1. Not the land you already know. Not the place that makes sense. The land I will show you. That's separation. That's faith. That's the price of elevation. You see, many people want the promise, but they don't want the process. They want the throne, but they avoid the wilderness. They want influence, but not isolation. But let me tell you something. God always separates before he elevates. You can't carry divine vision while dragging dead weight. You can't step into destiny with Egypt in your pocket. You must be willing to leave behind what is good to grab hold of what is God. And that means being alone sometimes. Moses spent 40 years in Pharaoh's palace, but he didn't meet God until he was alone in the wilderness. He didn't see the burning bush surrounded by praise. He saw it surrounded by silence. And that's where many of you are right now. You're in a wilderness season, wondering if you've been forgotten. But could it be that you're not being punished, you're being prepared? We're so afraid of being alone that we'll cling to dysfunction just to avoid isolation. But let me tell you something. Your destiny is too important to be shared with people who don't value it. Stop trying to bring everybody with you. Not everyone is assigned to your future. Some people were only meant for your past. Stop dragging Egypt into the promised land. Stop asking God to bless what he already told you to leave. Jesus himself, before performing miracles, before choosing disciples, before going to the cross, he withdrew, he separated. And rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place. And there he prayed. Mark 1:35. He went where there was no one, so he could hear the voice of the only one that mattered. The world celebrates connection, but the kingdom begins with separation. And hear me, separation is not isolation. It's not abandonment. It's divine alignment. It's the space where God detoxes your soul, renews your mind, and reintroduces you to you. Some of you have been surrounded so long you've forgotten your identity, and that's why God is calling you out. Out of comfort, out of compromise, out of crowded rooms with small vision. Because he cannot elevate you where he found you. You must come up higher. Come out from among them. Come out from the ordinary. Come out from fear. Come out from approval addiction. Come out from shallow relationships and surface level thinking. You cannot carry an eagle's calling with a chicken circle. You must separate so you can elevate. Because until you are willing to be set apart, you will never be set above. And that's why eagles fly alone. Vision is not a group assignment. Vision is personal, vision is divine, and vision demands clarity. You cannot fulfill what you cannot see. You cannot build what you have not first beheld. And here's the truth most people avoid. Clarity often requires separation. You can't see clearly when you're surrounded by noise. You can't hear God's voice when you're addicted to everyone else's opinions. The eagle flies higher than every other bird, not because it wants to be impressive, but because it needs clear vision. It ascends not for attention, but for accuracy. While the crow is flapping its wings in chaos and the pigeon is picking at crumbs on the street, the eagle is still perched on a cliff, watching, discerning, planning. Because the eagle understands that the higher you fly, the farther you see. And the farther you see, the greater your ability to walk in purpose. This is why the enemy doesn't fight your talent. He doesn't care about your education. He isn't worried about your connections. What he fears is your vision. Because once you catch a glimpse of what God put in you, once you see who you really are and where you're really going, you become unstoppable. That's why confusion is one of the enemy's greatest weapons. If he can cloud your vision, he can delay your destiny. So the question is, what is clouding your vision? Who is speaking into your ear that has no business being near your future? What voices are you allowing to define your value, direct your steps, distort your purpose? The wrong voices will always lead to the wrong vision. And blurred vision leads to broken purpose. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That's not just scripture. That's reality. Where there is no vision, families fall apart. Where there is no vision, businesses collapse. Where there is no vision, lives are wasted. Vision is the blueprint of your purpose. Vision is heaven's picture for your life on earth. And if you lose that picture, if you allow it to get buried under opinions, distractions, and fear, then you are just existing, not living. Let me remind you, God never speaks to crowds. He speaks to individuals. He didn't give Noah a group discussion. He gave him a vision. He didn't consult a committee to call Moses. He spoke to him out of a burning bush. He didn't appear to 12 disciples on the road to Damascus. He knocked one man named Saul to the ground and changed his life with a vision. Vision is intimate. Vision is personal. Vision is holy. And in order to protect your vision, you may have to fly higher. You may have to separate. You may have to turn down invitations. You may have to say no to good things so you can say yes to the God thing. Because when God gives you vision, it's not up for debate. It's not up for community approval. It is up to you to protect it, to guard it, to feed it, to walk in it. Stop lowering your altitude just to make others comfortable. Stop coming down from your post just to explain your purpose. If they don't see it, it's because they weren't meant to carry it. Vision is not for the crowd. It's for the called. Because powerful people are like eagles. They don't chase clarity, they rise into it. The storm is not your enemy. The storm is your training ground. The storm was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to develop you. And powerful people, like eagles, don't run from storms. They rise above them. While other birds hide, panic, and scatter in confusion, the eagle does something radical. The eagle faces the wind, locks its wings, and uses the storm to lift itself higher. The same wind that brings fear to other birds becomes the wind that carries the eagle to new heights. Because what breaks others builds the eagle. And so I must ask you, how do you respond when the storm comes? Do you retreat? Do you crumble? Do you pray for it to pass? Or do you rise into it? Because storms are not optional. The storm will come. The question is not if, but how you respond when it does. The question is whether you will allow the storm to define you or whether you will use the storm to refine you. It is in the storm that you discover your strength. It is in the storm that you learn to trust the wings God gave you. It is in the storm that you stop relying on human support and start leaning fully into divine supply. Because storms strip you. Storms isolate you. Storms reveal what was never real to begin with. The fake friends fall off. The shallow relationships disappear. The distractions get blown away. And all that remains is you, your God, and your purpose. When Peter saw Jesus walking on water, he said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come." And Jesus said one word, "Come." Peter stepped out into a storm, not into calm water, not into safety. He stepped into chaos. And as long as his eyes stayed on Jesus, he walked above what others were sinking in. But when he focused on the wind, on the storm, he began to sink. You don't sink because of the storm, you sink because of your focus. That's what the enemy wants. He wants you distracted. He wants you looking at the waves. He wants your attention on the wind, on the noise, on the fear. Because the moment you shift your focus from the one who called you, you will start to go under. But if you will keep your eyes on Jesus, if you will anchor your soul in the Word, you will walk through what others drown in. You will stand when others collapse. You will soar while others scatter. And this is the difference between ordinary people and powerful people. Ordinary people wait for ideal conditions, but powerful people, eagle people, thrive in adversity. They understand that resistance is part of the process, that storms are part of the calling, that greatness is not forged in comfort, but in conflict. The higher your calling, the stronger your storm. But hear me, if the wind is heavy, it means you're ready. So stop praying the storm away. Start learning how to fly through it. Stop running from the rain and start rising into it. The pressure you feel is proof that you're built for more. You were not created to flap in panic like a sparrow. You were not created to huddle in fear like a crow. You were created to stretch your wings, face the storm, and rise above it. Because eagles don't avoid storms, eagles use storms. And powerful people, just like eagles, were born to soar through the wind. Purpose has a price, and one of the first costs you will encounter is isolation. Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Purpose will make you lonely. When God gives you vision, when He reveals your assignment, don't expect a parade, don't expect applause, don't expect everybody to understand, agree, or even stick around. Because when you step into your divine purpose, people will leave, not because they hate you, but because they no longer recognize you. That's why purpose attracts isolation. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. You're not losing people. You're shedding layers. When a rocket goes to space, it drops parts of itself at every level of ascent. Why? Because what helped it launch is too heavy to help it fly. Some people were only designed for the launch stage. They were part of your beginning, not your becoming. And if you're not careful, you'll keep dragging people into spaces they were never built to breathe in. Ask Joseph. He had a dream, God-given, kingdom-breathed. But the moment he opened his mouth and shared it, what happened? His brothers hated him, plotted against him, stripped him of his coat and threw him in a pit. Why? Because purpose reveals insecurity in the people around you. And when your dream shines too bright, it will blind those who are walking in darkness. But notice, Joseph's brothers didn't kill him. They only removed him. Because what feels like betrayal may actually be divine redirection. God was never going to launch Joseph into Egypt while he was still surrounded by the familiar. Purpose requires a new environment, a new circle, a new mindset. And so God will sometimes use separation as a strategy. He will allow people to walk away, not to hurt you, but to help you. Stop trying to resurrect relationships God already buried. Stop calling people back into your life that He has already released. If they couldn't handle your potential, they have no place in your promotion. Can two walk together unless they agree? Amos 3:3. Agreement is not about liking the same things. It's about moving in the same direction. And if you're going to fulfill your purpose, you must be bold enough to walk alone when necessary. Even Jesus, in his final moments, had to leave the crowd, the disciple, even his inner circle. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he told Peter, James, and John, "Stay here while I go a little farther." That's the difference. There will come a time when even the closest must stay back, and you must go a little farther by yourself, because the weight of your assignment is not a group effort. Your cross is not a committee decision. Your purpose is between you and your Father. Don't confuse popularity with purpose. Don't measure your calling by your company. The narrow road is rarely crowded. The higher you go, the fewer people you'll find. That's why the eagle flies alone, not because it's proud, but because it understands altitude comes with aloneness. It's not isolation. So don't fear the silence. Don't panic when the room empties. That's not abandonment, it's refinement. That's not rejection, it's selection. God is not punishing you, He's preparing you. And those who are willing to walk alone today will lead many tomorrow. Because powerful people understand the price of purpose is often paid in isolation. And only those who embrace the silence are entrusted with the sound of destiny. Every creature has a diet, and every diet determines development. What you feed on determines what you become. And powerful people, people of destiny, people of vision, people of kingdom assignment, do not feed on gossip. They do not consume fear. They do not feast on doubt, confusion, or compromise. They feed on truth. They feed on wisdom. They feed on what sustains strength and unlocks clarity. And like the eagle, they are very selective about their intake. You see, while vultures feed on dead things, eagles only pursue the living. The vulture settles. It scavenges. It waits for something to die. But the eagle, the eagle hunts. The eagle seeks, it discerns, because it knows what you consume will shape how you fly. What you allow into your mind, into your heart, into your soul, that becomes your altitude. So I must ask you, what are you feeding on? What voices are shaping your thoughts? What content are you consuming every day? What are you allowing into the gates of your spirit, your eyes, your ears, your emotions? You can't expect to fly like an eagle if you're feeding like a chicken. You can't expect to think like a leader if you're constantly eating crumbs from the table of fear. Garbage in, garbage out. Weak input, weak output. The Bible says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That means your sustenance, your strength comes from what God says, not from what the world shows. You must feed on the word. Feed on wisdom. Feed on truth. Because truth is not just something you hear, it's something you digest. It becomes part of you, and what becomes part of you guides you. David said, I have hidden your word in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Why? Because when the word is in you, you walk differently, you think differently, you respond differently. When the word becomes your diet, you stop reacting emotionally and start moving strategically. You stop living by circumstance and start living by kingdom code. That's why powerful people are careful. They're intentional. They don't listen to just anyone. They don't follow trends. They follow truth. They don't chase every voice. They anchor to the one voice that called them. Because when you're on assignment, you can't afford to be malnourished in your spirit. You must stay fed. Fed with wisdom, fed with purpose, fed with courage. Some of you are weak, not because you lack calling, but because you lack nourishment. You are anointed, but underfed, gifted, but unfocused, talented, but spiritually starved. It's time to change your diet. It's time to come to the table of kingdom wisdom and stop dining at the buffet of worldly noise. Stop scrolling and start seeking. Stop feeding on fear and start devouring faith. Stop nibbling at motivation and start consuming revelation. Because revelation builds foundation, and foundation produces elevation, and elevation is the eagle's domain. So be like the eagle. Eat what gives you strength. Feed on what fuels your future. Choose your diet with purpose, because powerful people don't eat to survive, they eat to soar. And you were never created to crawl on the ground. You were born to fly with vision, with clarity, with power. But first you must feed right. So what have we learned? That powerful people, like eagles, are not ordinary. They don't flock. They don't follow the crowd. They fly above it. They fly alone when necessary. They see farther because they rise higher. They endure storms, not by escaping them, but by using them. They embrace isolation, not as punishment, but as preparation. And they guard their diet, feeding only on what fuels their destiny. This is not a motivational slogan. This is a kingdom mandate. You were never designed to live low. You were never created to depend on the crowd. There is something in you, divine, eternal, unstoppable, that cannot be activated in the comfort zone. If you want to rise, if you want to soar, if you want to live out the full weight of your calling, then you must embrace the way of the eagle. Separate when you must, stand when it's hard, feed your spirit, protect your vision, and never, ever apologize for flying higher than the crowd is willing to go. You don't owe anyone your wings. You owe God your flight. Now is the time. This is the hour. Don't look back. Don't hold back. Don't shrink. So, good luck on your journey to purpose, power, and kingdom fulfillment. Thank you, and may you never forget. You were born to fly.